Welcome to China Manufacturing Decoded from Southeast, the podcast where we take you through some of the major topics facing importers and manufacturers in China today.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of our podcast about China manufacturing, but actually today we're going to talk about Vietnam mostly. And my guest is Simon Caballero, who is originally from Spain, and I knew him actually when we were both living in Shenzhen in China. He was already involved in following up on productions and new product developments and things like that. And now it's been years, actually. I've kind of lost count. Now you're in Hanoi. Hi, Simon. Do you want to give us a brief overview, a little bit of where you come and what you've been doing?
Sure. Well, first of all, hello everyone. Thanks, Renaud, to invite me to that podcast series that you are doing. I think that they are very useful for buyers that they are willing to know what's going on here in Asia. So yeah, I'm happy to participate and contribute on that. Yeah, as you say, it's been a while since you and we met. Now I think this year it's going to be my 12 years in Asia after living in Thailand for 1 year, in China for almost 6 years, and now that's going to be my 5th year in Vietnam. Well, in the 3 countries, I almost did 3 different things related, but 3 different things. Let's say that in Thailand, my background is from logistics. I work in Spain, in Barcelona, mostly with logistics for Expeditors, UPS, American Airlines. I always was in charge of from the goods arrive to the port until delivery, and I had curiosity to know what's happening before the goods are loaded into the container. So that was after during the financial crisis, like in 2009, that most of my clients, they reduced the import from China. So, and most of them, they have the same common problems, the quality control problems, import from China, communication problems, the language barrier, the time zone barrier. So I said to them, hey, if I go to China and I go to the factory and I tell you exactly what's going on, do you think that we can make an agreement? And all of them, they say, oh, that would be great. So I didn't think too much about it. I just prepared my luggage and I jumped to Asia. And since then, I've been trying to understand how is the manufacturing in China, especially. And now in the last 5 years in Vietnam. In China, I was working in a very successful sourcing company. That really helped me to understand what I'm doing today in terms of project management, in terms of sourcing, in terms of new product development. At that time, I was doing any type of product, from consumer products, electronic products, footwear, garments, and it really opened my eyes. Until I joined a workwear Spanish brand that 5 years ago, they were start growing a lot, and we make an agreement. They wanted to find someone to help them to develop the manufacturing here in Asia. I was happy also to accept that challenge. And since then, since the last 5 years, let's say that I'm focused on the garment industry, and that's what bring me here to Vietnam, because 5 years ago we already saw that there was a good opportunity to move in here to Vietnam. And since then, that's what I'm doing. But not only Vietnam, I'm moving here, trying to develop business in Vietnam in terms of garment, but still managing production that we do in other countries like China. Of course, you can't ignore China. China, Vietnam, of course, Cambodia, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and these are all the countries that we produce and where I work with. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And when you say workwear, it means apparel, right? Garments for
uniforms
uniforms and things like that. Or?
Correct. Yeah. protection clothing,
Okay.
technical garments, uniforms.
Yeah.
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 It's a big trend. It's a big trend. Sometimes when I say workwear, people imagine that the blue pants, the blue jackets, but that concept really disappeared. The demand for be more fashion, to adapt more clothing, garments to the specific work that you do, it really wide the workwear business. So it's a very interesting business. Yeah. I'm happy what I'm doing. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so you moved west a little bit from Shenzhen to Hanoi, same latitude, but different country and a lot of differences. We discussed it a little bit in the past. I wanted to start with something really interesting that you told me last time we spoke, is that really in Vietnam, most of the factories can be put in one of three buckets. It's really easy to categorize them in three different types of factories. Do you want to cover that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. I remember, last time I was explaining that from my point of view, there is three type of factories. One more time, I want to. I'm sharing my experience in the garment field, but I think it could be similar to other type of products or industries. But well, I would say that there is three type of factories that I found, and the three of them has a big difference. And I think it's important to consider what type of partners you want to choose when you want to develop your manufacturing project here in Vietnam. So, and then the three of them are, one is the foreign-owned companies, that this number is growing a lot. Mostly the foreign invest companies are the nationality, mostly number one are Korean. There is a big investment of Korean here in Vietnam. Korean, Chinese, Taiwanese, and Japanese. I could say that these are the four main foreign direct investment that you can find in here. What you can find with these foreign direct investment companies is that the level of professionalism, call it like this, is higher compared with the local. You can expect more quality control concepts in the factory. You will see that there is more investment. You could see that the production facilities are way more developed. Even the level of understanding for your requirements also could match that other type of factory. In the opposite side, you could expect that prices are going to be higher because all these advantages require bigger investment, right? So depend of the type of product that you want to do. I choose this type of factories. For example, if I want to develop a quite high-end technical garment that requires a lot of, not a lot, but it requires a high quality understanding of manufacturing and a high level of quality control. I will choose these factories. Then you have the local owner factories. That most of these factories, on my experience, the majority, you can see that there is not much investment on the factory. It's just they just invest the basic to, in my case, just to set up production lines, just to show your garments, and that's it. There's no big investment in the quality control or manufacturing process of manufacturing systems, and that depend of your type of product. It could be useful or not. I mean, if you, as I say, if you want to do a high-end product, that could be a risky. It could be a risky for the lack of understanding.
Yes.
They don't invest too much. It's not only on facility, also on knowledge and service. They don't invest much, so you need to be careful also with that. Another lack point that I found is that these local-owned factories, they are more, in my industry, in garment industry, I would say they're focused on sewing. In others will be, I would say that they are just focused on assembly, which is, it's mean that they don't, it's not that they don't really care, but they don't have the capability. Once again, I'm talking about my experience. I'm sure that it will be the same thing. But in my experience, for example, the lack of sourcing of materials and accessories. So if you want to find a cheap factory, you need to consider that probably they will not have the strength to also provide the materials and accessories. But you can still work on under FOB terms, but you will need to support them. You know, as we know, most of the industries in Vietnam still underdeveloped and still have a big relying on import the materials and accessories. And that requires also to have some kind of knowledge and expertise to know how to source, to know how to negotiate, to know how to ship your material from China to Vietnam. And that type of skills, that type of department in the factory is difficult, very difficult to find. But as I say, if you have that ability, if you have that knowledge, in my case, because I came from China, I know where to find my materials and accessories. You know, so I have that combination. I can find a local owner factory that it could produce my products that is not so high end, and I can benefit from that lower cost. And I help them. I nominate the suppliers in China, and I also help them to negotiate the materials, and also I help them if they need in terms of logistics. So it has the good and bad dealing with a local owner.
So if I already you mentioned two of the three types, but that's pretty interesting. If I contrast that with China, in China there are some large foreign-owned companies, mostly for big buyers. You can do certain things with them that you can do with the others. Maybe some of them have pretty high quality standards. I can relate to that. When it comes to the local owners kind of companies, it's pretty interesting what you say. So some of the information is the same, especially if they're relatively low size. Okay, they might be cheaper, more flexible, right? There are some problems with understanding the foreign customer standard. Maybe they don't really come up with solutions. From my understanding, is really what you mean. And in Vietnam, one big difficulty is to source the materials and components, because most of them come from China, and most of these local owners don't have the experience basically doing that. So if you can help them as the buyer, you can still buy FOB if you negotiate that. So they will take responsibility for buying the fabrics and accessories, but you need to help them find the right source, and actually also help them follow up on maybe the quality of the materials before it leaves China, right? Is that a good summary?
Yes. And in conclusion, you need to manage well your expectation. When I say this, it's like you need to be ready and to offer that kind of support and understand truly what they cannot do. And you face here with the same problems that I faced on my beginning in China, that most of the suppliers, they want your business. And if your project is attractive, so the answer of yes, you will find all the time, then you realize that yes is a big no. So spending the time making the right questions on the beginning is extremely important to really know the capability of the supplier. Even that you as a buyer, as I mentioned before, you work as under FOB. That doesn't mean in that case that, I'm not worried about anything. You just put me the report and then I will take responsibility. In theory, it is like that, but that's not the reality. So open your mind, open your eyes, and be willing to cooperate with that particular supplier. Because at the end, as I said, most of them probably they lack on the things that I say, but they're willing also to learn or to really to understand, because it's probably the lack of knowledge. But if you show to them, they are happy. Even if you show to them like, hey, that is not only for my project, you can use this for other customers. So that mindset, you should be prepared when you come to Vietnam. But I have to say that Vietnam is in the Southeast Asia is one of the most developed countries compared with Cambodia, Bangladesh, Myanmar. Vietnam is very well, is more developed than the other. And there is the one, the third factory I didn't mention is that the state-owned companies that mostly in this case are big ones. They are big ones that they are often financed by the government. And you can see often in the garment industry, for example, that they can offer vertical integrated service. So it's easy to find a big one that they can offer from the yarn, fabric, weaving, dyeing, and of course the garment manufacturing and research and development centers. The problem is, it's not the problem, but this type of factory normally they are built to catch big fishes, big budgets. So if you are a small, I think with medium you can. If you are a medium budget and you have a good project, yes, I mean you can seduce them, but the setup is just to attract the big ones. So yeah, basically this is the three type of factories that I thought it was important to make difference.
Yeah, great. Okay. You mentioned just after Tet, which is, I don't know what to call it, Vietnam New Year? I don't know.
Yes.
Everybody says Tet, right?
Yeah.
At the same time as Chinese New Year. And you mentioned that you get quite busy after Tet because of the difficulty to buy some materials from China. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, and still today we are dealing with very difficult times with the price increase in the raw material and logistics. Yeah, normally, as you know, in China, before Chinese New Year, after Chinese New Year, there's always a hot negotiation times, and you expect always during these times that it's going to be a price increase, and you always prepare for that. But because COVID since last year, because COVID and currency exchange US dollar renminbi, since at the end of last year, we start receiving inquiries requests from suppliers that they wanted to increase the price. So we already start try to negotiate, try to hold it. So that was one side. From the other side, the capacity, the suppliers suddenly before Chinese New Year, they start receiving orders, especially from the US. I don't know if it was because the vaccine was already announced that it's going to be ready, but by the end of Chinese New Year, most of our suppliers start having a capacity problem. That happened always anyway, but this year was different. And before Chinese New Year, cotton price, polyester price, currency exchange, copper price also, pulp price, all these raw materials that we need for our garment, they start going up very high, like an average of 5-10%, which is I never saw this. So it was difficult to try to negotiate with every single supplier, because obviously every single supplier you have different business volumes. So it was a difficult time, but it was even worse after Chinese New Year, because all the negotiations we did before Chinese New Year was thinking like, okay, and after Chinese New Year, probably the price will stable or it will drop. But it happened all the opposite. What it happened is after Chinese New Year, the price went high again, but very high. Even today, then the suppliers, they only give you prices validity for 1 week because the price is still very high. What happened? We don't know exactly. Some suppliers say that is that because during COVID last year, the cotton price, for example, just to put an example, 2019, ton of cotton was 15,000 renminbi. During COVID, July 2020, the cotton price per ton was dropped to 10,000.
Right.
And
no demand,
and today, and today it went up to 16,000. And they say that the government say that the top is 18,000. So some people say that cotton producers or cotton dealers, they want to reach the same level of 2019. Other suppliers, the reason say, as I say before, that because the vaccine in the US especially is already put in place, so the people start getting more confidence and they start demanding more, so more demand. Other people say that it's just a game from big buyers, big traders, that they just how to say the word in English?
Speculate.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, speculate. Yeah. I think big buyers, they bought during the low prices last year. They consolidate. They bought a lot of raw material, and now when the demand is that to be high, they are, also putting high prices. So still today, very very difficult. And in my case, because during that time we're trying to develop a lot of new product development. So we needed to stop because you can't really fix a price or develop a new item when the market is like this, that is not stable. So I face the issues with all the new product developments that I wanted to develop, and then try to negotiate all our current business that was in production. So it's a very difficult time. Oh, and plus, we need to add the situation with the containers and ocean transportation.
Yes.
The prices increased 9 times more than we were paying in August. So, but we knew that. But what's happening now is the problem is that some of our suppliers, they finish the production on time, but our goods is still in the warehouse because there is no containers in the port to load our shipment. So dealing with this also is like it's a headache. It's a headache. Yes. So, and the problem is that if you know when the problem is when it's starting, when it's going to finish, you can manage. But the situation now is that you cannot manage because nobody knows. Nobody knows. And I have suppliers from north of China to south of China, and I try to talk with them every single day to see how is the situation. And nobody could tell you exactly what's going on. They say the price will stabilize in the next 2 weeks. Now, past 2 weeks, said no, they are not stabilize anything. They contain the logistic issues now. They will say like, oh, maybe by May everything will be normal, but nobody knows. So facing very difficult time. And as I say, in my 12 years, I never faced that such amount of negotiation that I need to do daily with our suppliers. And this is, sometimes the negotiation is, that the suppliers want more. The reasons are not truly because market situation. But this time I have to recognize that it's a market situation. It's time to really understand the supplier and make a negotiation that both of us, it's not win-win, but at least we don't lose-lose,
Yes.
So,
well
so that's what I delay that interview that we had because every day was a difficult time. And obviously it doesn't affect only to China, it affects to here to Vietnam because the material comes from China. It's affecting us also in Bangladesh because the material comes from China too. And additional, the problem that we were producing in Myanmar, So additionally, we have the military coup in Myanmar that, well, we were affected by COVID in Myanmar. And then in the beginning of February with the military coup. So again, and suddenly we needed to, happy that I had a plan B and I reactivate, because obviously the factory is closed. And even today, all the workers with the factory where we used to work, all they are, in the protest. So luckily, we take out our production on time. We relocate to China. So we did a step back, going back to China. But yeah, also that was a big issue where it consumes a lot of time to understand what's going on, to find solutions. So yeah, this beginning of the year has been a little bit tough, I would say.
I can see that, yes. So you talked about some of your suppliers in North Vietnam, some in South Vietnam. Can you see some of patterns about where different industries are located in Vietnam? So I guess garment, I mean, when I look in China, garments are everywhere, right? Is it the same in Vietnam?
Yes, there is some industries that you can see in all Vietnam, like processing agricultural and forestry products, processing minerals, chemicals. All this is easy to find in all Vietnam, from north to south. But then every region has also their own particular industry. So I could say that there is like 6 zones, or better say 6 industrial zones, okay, that are from up north, where you can find, for example, in the up north, hydroelectricity. That is one of the main industries that you can find in the up north. Minerals, where they get a lot of coal, mechanical industry, agricultural industry. All this you can find in the up north of Vietnam. So it's more like natural resources, I would say. Yeah, it's not in the up north. There is not like industries for assembly, like electronic or garment. Right. It is not. Okay. Then you move down to north, where is Hanoi, Bac Ninh, Hai Tinh, Hai Dong, Haiphong. All these are quite industrialized and historically trading provinces, where easy to find, or they are more specialized on electronics, textile, and garments. I will remark these 2 industries, like the main one. And as in the up north area, chemicals, also mining, agricultural, forestry, processing industry, all this is easy to find also in the north. You move down and then to central, where there is like 10 provinces, like Danang, Quang Nam, Quang Nine. I would say in this area, you also can find textile, footwear, and electronics in terms of assembly, mechanical engineering also, and the same, processing agriculture, seafood. Obviously, seafood in the central Vietnam is quite big. Move to you keep going to the south, and obviously in Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh and all the 8 provinces around, they are very specialized, from my point of view, in high quality textiles. Why high quality textiles? Well, I think the textile industry is start developing in Ho Chi Minh in the south, and then eventually they start moving to the north for cost reasons. So here in the north, you can find more, factories. It's just for sewing, which is in the south. You can still find factories, but with, more, let's call it like this, more research and development centers in there. You can see there all very clear example. All the big brands, H&M, Corte Inglés, Zara. All these are in the south. You won't see any of these big brands here in the north. All are in the south. So all the development is in the south, but the manufacturing, it could be like big volumes and all this could be found here in the north. For cost reason, labor cost is slightly more cheaper in here. And we have the Haiphong port, so in terms of
Yeah.
logistically also is convenient.
Yeah.
I mean, all related with knowledge you can find in the south, like product with high
Okay.
knowledge in the south, electronic, software industry in the south, chemical also in the south, pharmaceutical in the south. There is truly a big difference, and I could say, I think I mentioned before, from my point of view, but it's a common say in in Vietnam that it's almost two different countries, to be honest, the north and south. The south is very well developed, I think, because the influence by the French, by the Americans, the trading in the south is very well developed. The way of doing business is well developed. I was talking yesterday with my friend that he spent 1 week in Ho Chi Minh and say, man, I go to Ho Chi Minh and I can do 5-6 meetings in 1 day because people is willing to do business, willing to meet, is willing to hear what you offer. You come to the north and you try to set up a meeting and all right, let's see next week. So the way of doing business north and south is way different. The mentality is way different. In the south they are more open. I'm not saying that it here in the north is bad, but no. But in terms of business, in the south they are way open. The way of living also is
Quite
different.
different.
It's quite different, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see after work people, just go outside, have a beer, and the way how they dress, In the north, still all the government is in here, and Vietnam has a very strong influence with the Confucianism, and so very traditional, very, very, so the culture in here is still very present in all aspects of your life, also at work. So in terms of one of my difficulties is try to widen my network. Here is very difficult to really hang out with people in the same industry, Western especially. When if you go to the south, it's very easy to have a lunch with one guy that works in Adidas or Nike or Zara. So there is a big difference between north and south, and for that reason, it's more developed, and they are more ready to offer you, like as I said in the beginning, high quality textiles, for example, or high knowledge on any of the industries mentioned.
Yeah, it's a little bit like in China. You look at places like Shenzhen, Guangzhou. I mean, they've been
West and East,
working. Yes. But if you look at China, really around Guangdong, they've been those working with foreign customers for the longest also. So they tend to be the ones a little bit ahead on the value curve, right? Trying to work on more technical products and so on, right? And then if you look at Taiwan, well, they have another 20-year head start. So the cost advantage is definitely no longer there, but then it's in electronics, you really see them be quite innovative, do a lot of things that the Chinese don't know how to do yet, right? So that from what you're saying around Ho Chi Minh City is maybe a little bit ahead on the value curve. And also one thing I was thinking is, in Hanoi, it's so close to China. It's so easy to get all the materials from China. It's so easy to maybe work with, the R&D might be done in Guangzhou, right? All of the higher value added activities might be done in China. Do you see some of that, or?
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Located in here, that's more related. New product development. There's a few considerations. If you in terms of new product development, I mean, in China, you can find almost anything, any type of product you can develop in China. In Vietnam today, simply they can't offer the level of diversity of China can at this stage. Yeah. But but as I say before, but Vietnam manufacturing industry is higher than Bangladesh and Cambodia. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, there is a few considerations that you need to think about it for the new product development. Like most of the material, as we mentioned, is import material, are import from China. Yeah. So, for example, injection molds for plastic parts, they are import from China. Fabrics, they are import from China. Electronic components are still often import from China to Vietnam. So Vietnamese manufacturers, they rely on foreign inputs for producing across many variety of industries. Like I have here a few notes. Like for example, this is some data. Vietnam garment industry imports 70 to 80% of the textiles. Yeah. Vietnam electronics industry imports 77% of the total product value. Vietnam pharmaceutical. Yes.
So it
Vietnam,
means everything. It means everything because I mean you get to do the assembly, the testing, the packaging. So
correct. Yeah, and the pharmaceutical, 85 to 90% of the materials. Plastic industry import 70 to 80%. So the import materials and components also need to think about it that will increase your price per product if you need to import everything. And, your supply chains also could be vulnerable, okay, for the cost increase and also to, intense logistically. So, develop new products in Vietnam is feasible, sure, but you need to consider these facts that I just mentioned. Yeah, quality control. The quality control also for new product development also is a good consideration point. I mean, in Vietnam, how many quality control companies you can find in Vietnam? Hundreds, and quality control companies and the ability of inspector also is huge. I mean, that's also 1.4 billion. So there is people for everything, for every field, and in abundance. Vietnam has 90 million. So it's not so easy to find the people that you want. So there is some kind of a shortage for inspectors, and that also leads to high travel expenses for inspectors. Longer lead times for scheduling inspections. One big issue also is the integrity concerns about ethical way of doing business.
Yes.
Yeah. So quality control also is a good consideration when you want to develop a new product development in Vietnam, because the lack of also inspector could difficult your idea. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you so much, Simon. And
you're welcome.
And it's start of the day here, so wish you a great day then.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's a pleasure to talk with you, and I don't consider I said all this knowledge as not as an expert at all. Is just sharing, what I'm doing, what I see. And if that could help, I think I accomplished the mission.
Yeah, no, sharing experiences. That's what it's about. That was great. Well, thanks a lot, Simon.
You're welcome.
Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like and share, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other places that you get your podcasts from. See you next time.